Welcome. Find a comfortable position, somewhere you can rest, somewhere you feel safe and held. Let your body settle into softness. There's nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do. For the next few hours, you are free. Tonight, you're going to take a walk. A long, slow walk through a moonlit forest where time moves differently, where the air is cool and clean, where the only sounds are the whisper of leaves and the song of night birds. There's no destination to reach, no hurry to arrive anywhere. This is simply a journey for its own sake, a gentle wandering beneath the full moon's light, through ancient trees that have stood for centuries and will stand for centuries more. Let the forest welcome you. Let the moonlight guide you. Let yourself drift into this story, this place, this moment of peace. And when you're ready, let us begin. The evening air welcomes you like an old friend as you step beyond the garden gate. The world has grown quiet in that particular way it does when day releases its hold and night begins to breathe. Above you, the moon hangs full and luminous, a pearl suspended in deepening blue velvet, and its light falls through the leaves and silver coins that scatter across the path before you. You pause for a moment, letting your eyes adjust, letting the last threads of the day's concerns slip from your shoulders like a shawl you no longer need. The forest path stretches ahead, familiar and inviting, lined with ancient oaks whose branches form a natural archway overhead. You've walked this way many times, but never quite like this, never beneath such a moon, never with this particular quality of stillness settling into your bones. Your first steps are slow, deliberate. There's no need to hurry. Time has become something different here, something soft and expandable, like honey spreading across warm bread. The packed earth beneath your feet is still holding the warmth of the day, and you can feel it even through your shoes, a gentle reminder that the world is alive, breathing its own slow breath. The night air carries the scent of pine and damp earth, of leaves slowly turning, of bark and moss, and the secret green smell of growing things settling down for the night. You breathe it in deeply, filling your lungs with this ancient perfume, and feel something in your chest begin to unknot, to release. A nightingale calls from somewhere deep in the trees, its song cascading through the darkness like liquid silver. You stop to listen, tilting your head, following the sound as it rises and falls, a gentle reminder that you are not alone, that the forest is full of quiet life, of small hearts beating, of wings folded and eyes watching with neither fear nor malice, only the pure awareness of creatures at home in the dark. The path curves gently to the left, following the contour of the land, and you follow it without question. The moonlight strengthens here, finding gaps in the canopy, painting everything in shades of pearl and shadow. The trees seem to glow from within, their bark silvered, their leaves transformed into something ethereal, something caught between the world of day and the realm of dreams. Your breathing has slowed to match the rhythm of your walking. In, out, step, step, a meditation of movement, a prayer of presence. The modern world with all its noise and urgency feels very far away now, like something half remembered, like something that happened to someone else. You notice the small things. A mushroom growing at the base of an oak, pale and ghostly in the moonlight. A spider's web stretched between two branches, each strand beaded with evening dew, transformed into a necklace of tiny moons. The way the breeze moves through the leaves above you, creating a sound like gentle rain, like distant waves, like the earth itself breathing in and out, in and out. The path begins a gradual descent, and you follow it down into a deeper part of the forest where the trees grow closer together and the moonlight must work harder to find its way through. But it always does. Painting narrow silver streams across the path, illuminating your way forward, inviting you deeper, always deeper, into this world of whispers and shadows and peace. Your shoulders have dropped. Your jaw has unclenched. Your hands, which you didn't realize were tight, have opened, fingers relaxed, palms soft. The forest is doing its work, the work it has done for millennia, welcoming the weary, soothing the troubled, offering its ancient medicine of silence and shadow and slow, deep time. A fox crosses the path ahead of you, pausing to look back over its shoulder, eyes catching the moonlight and throwing it back like tiny mirrors. You stand still, barely breathing, and for a long moment you and the fox regard each other, two creatures in the night, both exactly where you're meant to be. Then it continues on its way, disappearing into the undergrowth without a sound, leaving only the memory of its presence, a blessing bestowed. You walk on, and the forest receives you, step by quiet step, into its heart. The path continues its gentle descent, and with each step, you feel yourself sinking deeper into the forest's embrace, deeper into this pocket of stillness that exists outside of ordinary time. The air grows cooler here, carrying with it the scent of water somewhere nearby, that clean, mineral smell of a stream moving over smooth stones. Your feet know this path, even in the darkness. They find their way without conscious thought, leaving your mind free to wander, to notice, to simply be. There's a particular kind of freedom in this, in letting the body lead while the mind rests, in trusting the path beneath you, in surrendering to the gentle pull of gravity and the earth's patient guidance. The trees around you are older here, their trunks thick and gnarled, their roots breaking through the surface of the path in places, creating natural steps that you navigate with the ease of long practice. You rest your hand against one trunk as you pass, feeling the rough texture of bark beneath your palm, feeling the solid presence of this living thing that has stood in this exact spot for longer than you can imagine. Above you, the canopy opens slightly, and the moonlight floods down in a shaft of pure silver light, illuminating a small clearing just ahead. You step into it and pause, tilting your face upward to receive the moon's full blessing. The light touches your skin like cool water, like silk, like some ancient magic that has no name, but has been working its quiet transformation on wandering souls since the very first humans looked up at the night sky and felt something stir in their hearts. In this circle of moonlight, everything seems to pause with you. The breeze stills. The forest holds its breath. Even your own heartbeat seems to slow, to deepen, becoming one with the pulse of the earth itself, that slow, steady rhythm that has beat since the beginning of time and will continue long after you and everyone you know has returned to soil and star. You become aware of the smallness of yourself in this moment, but it's not a diminishing feeling. Instead, it's strangely comforting. This sense of being one small part of something vast and intricate and beautiful, one note in an endless song, one breath in an infinite exchange of air and life and light. A moth dances past your face, drawn to some invisible beacon, its wings pale as paper, as fragile as hope, yet somehow strong enough to carry it through the darkness, to navigate this world of shadow and silver, to trust in the night and find its way. You watch it spiral upward, up toward the moon, until it disappears into the greater darkness, leaving you smiling at its courage, at its simple faith in flight. You breathe deeply, filling yourself with this moment, with this light, with this peace. And then, when you're ready, when the forest gives you permission to continue, you step forward once more, leaving the clearing behind but carrying its brightness with you. A small sun kindled in your chest. The path narrows now, becoming more intimate, more secret. Ferns brush against your legs as you walk, their fronds soft and cool, leaving traces of dew on your skin. Wild roses grow in a tangle to your left, their perfume heavy and sweet in the night air, their pale blooms glowing like small moons themselves. Earthbound stars nestled among thorns and leaves. You slow your pace even further, not because the path demands it, but because you want to. Because rushing would be a kind of violence against this gentleness, against this gift of time and space and solitude. Each step becomes a meditation, a small ceremony of presence, a way of honoring this forest that has opened itself to you, that has granted you passage through its heart. The sound of water grows stronger now, a soft murmuring that speaks of movement and flow, of continuity and change, of the way all things move forward while somehow remaining themselves. You recognize this sound. Know that just around the next bend, the path will bring you to the stream that runs through the forest's heart, the silver thread that connects all the secret places, that carries the mountain's memory down to the valley below. Your anticipation is gentle, patient. You've learned not to rush toward joy, but to let it unfold in its own time, to trust that what awaits you will still be there when you arrive, that the stream will still be singing its ancient song, that the moon will still be painting light across moving water, that the forest will still be whispering its secrets to those who have ears to hear. And then you're there, standing at the edge of the stream, and it's exactly as you remembered, and somehow more beautiful than memory could hold. The water moves over stones worn smooth by centuries of patient flow, catching the moonlight and fracturing it into 1,000 dancing sparks, a river of liquid silver flowing through the darkness. You find a large, flat stone near the water's edge and settle yourself upon it, feeling its coolness through your clothes, feeling the solidity of it beneath you. This stone has been here long before you, will be here long after, has held countless other wanderers who needed to rest, to listen, to let the water's song wash through them and carry away whatever needed releasing. The sound of the stream is complex, layered. There's the deeper note of water moving around larger stones, the higher tinkling of it spilling over smaller obstacles, the soft rush where it gathers speed in a narrow channel, the gentle susurration where it spreads wide and shallow. Together, these sounds create a symphony that has been playing since the first rain fell on these mountains, that will continue playing long after all human music has been forgotten. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the sound fill you completely. It seems to flow not just past you but through you, as though you too are made of water, as though the boundaries between yourself and the stream are more suggestion than solid fact. In this moment, you can almost remember what it was like before you learned words, before you learned to separate yourself from the world, when everything was one continuous flow of sensation and being. A cool breeze follows the water's path, lifting your hair, touching your face with gentle fingers. You open your eyes and watch the moon's reflection trembling on the water's surface, breaking apart and reforming endlessly. A meditation on impermanence, on the way all things are constantly becoming something new, while remaining essentially themselves. Small fish move in the shallows near your feet, their bodies dark against the lighter stones, their movements quick and purposeful. They're going about their night business, feeding on insects, navigating their liquid world with an ease you can only admire. They pay you no mind, these small creatures, accepting your presence as they accept the stones and the current and the moonlight, as simply another part of their world. You reach down and trail your fingers in the water, feeling its coldness, its aliveness, its constant motion. The sensation is shocking in the best way, pulling you fully into your body, into this moment, reminding you that you are here, You are real. You are part of this intricate web of existence. When you lift your hand, droplets fall from your fingers, each one catching the light for a brief instant before rejoining the stream. Each one a small perfect world unto itself before dissolving back into the greater whole. There's a lesson in this, you think, though you don't try to put it into words. Some truths are better felt than spoken, better experienced than explained. You sit with the stream for a long while, letting time become meaningless again. Minutes or hours, it makes no difference. The water flows, the moon shines, your breath moves in and out, and everything is exactly as it should be. The accumulated weight of worry and responsibility and all the small anxieties that fill your days seems to lift from you. Carried away by the current, dissolved in the moonlight, released into the patient darkness. Eventually, though you could stay here forever, you feel the gentle pull to continue, to move on. The path calls to you, promising more wonders, more quiet revelations, more moments of this sweet, aching peace. You rise from your stone, feeling both lighter and more grounded than before, feeling cleansed in some way that has nothing to do with water and everything to do with presence, with attention, with allowing yourself to simply be. You follow the stream for a while, walking along its bank, listening to its constant song. The path here is softer, cushioned with moss and fallen leaves, and your steps make almost no sound. You've become part of the forest's quiet now, moving through it like a breath, like a thought, like something that belongs. The path leads you away from the stream gradually, climbing slightly now, winding between trees that grow ever larger, ever older. You've entered what feels like the forest's inner sanctum, a place where time itself seems to have grown thick and slow, where the very air feels weighted with age and wisdom and patient watching. These trees are giants, their trunks so wide that 3 people holding hands could not encircle them, their branches spreading out overhead like the vaulted ceiling of a cathedral. The bark is deeply furrowed, holding shadows within shadows, and you know without touching that it would feel like stone beneath your hands, roughened and hardened by centuries of weather and growth and quiet endurance. The moonlight filters down through the canopy in thin beams, creating pillars of light that seem almost solid, almost something you could lean against. Dust motes and small flying insects drift through these beams, made visible by the light, performing their own slow dance, their own meditation on movement and stillness. You feel very small here, but again, it's not a fearful smallness. It's the smallness of a child held safely in a grandparent's arms, the smallness of being part of something far greater than yourself, something that has existed long before you were born and will continue long after you're gone. There's comfort in this continuity, in being one small moment in an endless chain of moments, one small life connected to all the lives that have walked this path before you and all that will walk it after. An owl calls from somewhere high above, its voice deep and questioning, echoing through the grove. You stop and look up, trying to spot it among the branches, but the canopy is too dense, too dark. You can only hear it, only know it by its voice, and somehow that's enough. Not everything needs to be seen to be real, to be acknowledged, to be honored. The ground here is carpeted with centuries of fallen leaves, creating a soft, springy surface that gives slightly under your feet. Each step releases a faint earthy scent, the smell of decomposition and renewal, of death feeding life, of the eternal cycle that keeps everything moving, growing, changing, becoming. You notice the younger trees growing in the spaces between the giants, reaching upward toward whatever light they can find, patient in their youth, waiting for their turn to tower, to spread their branches wide, to become part of the canopy that shelters all below. There's no competition here, no fighting, only the slow, steady reaching toward light and life. Each tree finding its place, its moment, its particular way of being in the world. A fallen log lies across the path, covered in moss so thick and green it looks like velvet. You step over it carefully, noticing the small world that has made its home in the decaying wood. Mushrooms cluster along one side, their caps pale and delicate. Beetles scurry in the crevices. Moss grows in every crack and hollow. What was once a towering tree has become a nursery, a feeding ground, a foundation for new life. Nothing is wasted here. Nothing is truly lost. Everything transforms. Everything continues. Everything feeds what comes next. You pause beside another massive oak and, almost without thinking, place your hand against its trunk. The bark is cool and rough beneath your palm, and for a moment you could swear you feel something beneath it. Some slow pulse, some deep current of sap and life and ancient knowing. This tree was already old when your grandparents' grandparents were young. It has weathered storms you can't imagine, has seen seasons beyond counting, has stood witness to endless cycles of growth and rest, of abundance and scarcity, of life and death and life again. You lean your forehead against the bark, closing your eyes, breathing in the scent of wood and age and endurance. And for just a moment, you feel connected to something vast and slow and patient, something that measures time not in minutes or hours, but in decades and centuries, something that knows the deep truth that all this hurrying and worrying and striving is just foam on the surface of a much deeper current. When you step back, you feel changed in some subtle way, as though the tree has shared something with you, some fragment of its patience, its rootedness, its unshakable presence. You continue on with this gift warming your chest, this reminder that some things endure, that some things stand firm, that some truths are older and deeper than any temporary trouble. The path leads you deeper into the grove, and you follow it gladly, surrounded by these gentle giants, these silent witnesses, these patient teachers who speak not in words, but in presence, in endurance, in the simple fact of their continued being. A breeze stirs through the grove, and suddenly the forest is alive with sound. The leaves above you begin to move, to rustle, to whisper among themselves in their secret language. It starts softly, just a gentle shushing, but builds gradually into something more complex, more layered, like waves upon waves of sound washing through the canopy. You stop walking and simply listen, tilting your head back, letting the sound pour over you and through you. It's not quite music, not quite speech, but something in between, something that your body understands even if your mind cannot translate it. The leaves are telling their ancient stories, sharing their green wisdom, speaking of sunlight and rain, of seasons turning and life persisting, of the way all things are connected by invisible threads of air and light and time. The sound rises and falls, swells and fades, following its own mysterious rhythm. Sometimes it's almost like laughter, light and rippling. Sometimes it's more like singing, long and sustained. Sometimes it's barely there at all, just the softest sigh, the quietest breath. You stand in the center of it, letting it wash away the last remnants of tension, the last tight places in your mind and heart. Your eyes drift half closed, and the moonlight through the moving leaves creates patterns on your eyelids, shifting shadows and brief bright flashes. A light show choreographed by wind and branches and the endless dance of nature. You feel yourself swaying slightly, moving with the breeze, with the sound, with the rhythm of the forest breathing all around you. The whispering brings with it a quality of timelessness, as though you could stand here forever, and these leaves would continue their conversation, would continue their patient rustling, would continue speaking truths too deep for words. You've become part of the listening itself, not separate from it, not observing it from outside, but woven into it. One more element in this symphony of sound and stillness. As the breeze shifts direction, the quality of the sound changes. Now it comes from your left, now from behind, now from all around at once, creating the sensation that you're standing in the center of something living and aware, something that holds you gently in its attention. The forest is not ignoring you, not tolerating you, but actively including you, welcoming you, acknowledging your presence as part of its own. Small creatures move through the underbrush, their passage adding to the complex tapestry of sound. A rustling here, a crack of a twig there, the soft padding of feet on fallen leaves. They're going about their business, these night creatures, hunting or gathering or simply wandering, and you're grateful to share this space with them, to be one more being moving through the darkness, seeking whatever it is that nighttime wanderers seek. The breeze begins to ease, and the whispering gradually softens, becoming once again that gentle shushing, that soft susurration that never quite stops, that forms the bass line beneath all the other sounds of the forest. You take a deep breath, feeling as though you've been given something precious, some gift that has no name, but that you'll carry with you always, folded carefully in the quiet places of your heart. You begin walking again, your steps slow and contemplative. The path leads you along the edge of the grove, where the giant trees give way gradually to smaller ones, where the moonlight begins to find its way more easily through the thinning canopy. You're transitioning into a different kind of forest now, moving from the ancient and solemn into something lighter, younger, more playful perhaps. The quality of the darkness shifts, becoming less dense, less weighted. The shadows here are softer, more forgiving. The air moves more freely, carrying scents from further away. Wildflowers perhaps, or herbs growing in some clearing you haven't reached yet, or the complex perfume of a summer night in full bloom. You notice that you're smiling, though you're not sure when it started. There's a lightness in your chest, a quiet joy that has nothing to do with anything external, nothing to do with achievement or acquisition or any of the usual sources of happiness. This is something simpler, something more fundamental, the joy of being alive, of being here, of being part of this intricate web of existence that includes trees and streams and owls and the patient moon overhead. The whispering continues behind you as you walk, growing fainter now, but never quite disappearing. A gentle reminder that the forest is always speaking, always sharing its wisdom, always offering its quiet comfort to those who take the time to listen, to slow down, to step off the frantic pace of ordinary life and into this other rhythm, this deeper tempo, this ancient heartbeat that pulses beneath everything. The trees begin to thin, their ranks gradually opening, and ahead you can see a change in the quality of the darkness. It's lighter there, more open, touched by the moon's full radiance without the filter of leaves and branches. You're approaching a meadow. You realize, one of those unexpected clearings that appear in forests like gifts, like pauses in a long sentence, like breaths drawn between verses of a poem. You emerge from the trees, and the world suddenly expands around you. The meadow stretches before you, silvered by moonlight, the grasses moving in gentle waves as the breeze passes over them. The openness is almost shocking after the enclosure of the forest, and for a moment you feel very exposed, very visible, as though stepping out onto a stage where the moon itself is the audience. But the feeling passes quickly, replaced by wonder. The meadow is beautiful in its simplicity, in the way the moonlight falls across it without obstruction, painting everything in shades of silver and gray and palest blue. Wildflowers to the grasses, their closed heads nodding gently, their stems slender and delicate, their presence a promise of color and brightness that will return with the dawn. You step out into the open, leaving the shadow of the trees behind, and feel the moonlight fall across your shoulders like a blessing, like a welcome, like an acknowledgement. The grass is high here, reaching almost to your knees, and it brushes against your legs as you walk, whispering its own softer version of the forest song. The air smells different here, sweeter, touched with pollen and the green scent of growing things, with wildflowers and herbs, and the particular perfume that meadows release into the night. You breathe it deeply, feeling it fill your lungs, feeling it enter your bloodstream, feeling it become part of you, mingling with all the other scents and sensations you've gathered on this walk. The sky is vast here, no longer broken into fragments by branches, but whole and complete and overwhelming in its scope. The moon dominates, of course, but around it you can see stars scattered like diamond dust, like questions without answers, like all the mysteries that remain no matter how much we learn, no matter how far we travel, no matter how deeply we peer into the darkness. You walk toward the center of the meadow, each step releasing small clouds of scent from the crushed grasses, from disturbed flowers, from the earth itself, which seems more alive here, more present, less hidden beneath layers of leaf litter and shade. This is a place where things grow freely, where sunlight reaches without impediment, where life flourishes in its own exuberant way. A rabbit freezes in the grass ahead of you, its large eyes catching the moonlight, its body perfectly still except for the trembling of its whiskers. You stop moving, not wanting to frighten it, content to simply observe this small creature caught in its own moment of decision. For several heartbeats you stand there together, human and rabbit, both creatures of the earth, both touched by the same moonlight, both alive in this same miraculous instant. Then the rabbit decides you're not a threat, or perhaps simply decides that the business of eating is more important than the business of fear, and it goes back to nibbling at the grass, its movements quick and delicate, its presence a reminder that you're not alone here, that the meadow is full of life even in the darkness, even in the quiet. You move on, giving the rabbit space, and find yourself drifting toward a large stone that rises from the center of the meadow like a small monument to patience, to endurance, to all the things that remain while softer things come and go. The stone is covered with lichen, pale as lace in the moonlight, and when you reach it you find that it's shaped almost like a seat, as though the earth itself is offering you a place to rest, a throne from which to survey this small kingdom of grass and stars. You settle yourself on the stone, feeling its coolness through your clothes, feeling the rough texture of lichen beneath your hands. From here you can see the entire meadow, can see where the trees rise up on all sides like protective walls, can see the path you've walked winding back into shadow, can see ahead to where it continues on the far side, leading deeper into the forest, promising more wonders yet to come. But for now, there's only this: the meadow, the moon, the gentle movement of grass and air, the stars in their uncountable multitudes, the cricket's song rising from the grass, that mechanical chirping that marks the temperature, that measures the summer night in pulses of sound, the distant call of an owl, the faint rustle of small things moving through the grass, the beating of your own heart, steady and patient, keeping time with the earth's slow pulse. You sit and breathe and watch and listen, and time becomes nothing again, becomes irrelevant again, becomes just another construct that has no power here, in this place of moon and meadow, of grass and stars, of silence and the small sounds that make silence bearable, that make silence beautiful, that make silence not an absence but a presence, not an emptiness but a fullness beyond words. As you sit in the meadow's heart, you begin to notice them, flowers that you hadn't seen before, or perhaps flowers that are only now revealing themselves, opening their petals to the night, to the moon, to the cool air and the darkness. Night bloomers, flowers that have learned to love the dark, that save their beauty for the hours when most other flowers sleep. You rise from your stone seat and move closer to examine them. They are pale, almost ghostly, their petals luminous in the moonlight as though they hold some internal glow, some captured starlight that they are slowly releasing back into the world. Evening primrose, moonflowers, night-blooming jasmine. Their names are poetry. Their existence a reminder that beauty doesn't require sunlight, that some things flourish in the dark, that night has its own wonders to offer those patient enough to look for them. You bend down to smell one of the flowers, a large bloom with petals like silk, and its perfume is intense, heady, almost overwhelming in its sweetness. This is how night flowers call to their pollinators. You remember, in the absence of bright colors, they rely on scent, on perfume thick enough to follow like a trail through the darkness. As you watch, a moth appears, drawn by the scent, its wings pale and powdery in the moonlight. It hovers before the flower for a moment, its wings beating so fast they are just a blur, and then it lands delicately on a petal and extends its long proboscis into the flower's heart, seeking nectar, fulfilling the ancient contract between plant and pollinator, continuing the dance that has played out for millions of years, that will continue long after this particular flower has faded, long after this particular moth has returned to dust. You watch this small miracle with a sense of privilege, grateful to be witness to this intimate moment, this essential transaction upon which so much depends. The moth finishes its business and flies off, disappearing into the darkness, carrying pollen to the next flower, weaving invisible connections across the meadow, stitching together the fabric of life with threads too fine to see. You move through the meadow slowly now, stopping to admire each night bloomer you find, marveling at their variety, their beauty, their perfect adaptation to this world of darkness and moonlight. Some are small and delicate, their petals barely visible against the grass. Others are large and bold, announcing their presence with size and scent, demanding attention even in the dim light. The moon climbs higher in the sky as you explore, and its light grows stronger, more direct, transforming the meadow into something even more magical, more otherworldly. Every blade of grass seems to glow. Every flower becomes a small lantern. Even the air itself seems to shimmer with silver light, as though the boundary between earth and sky has grown thin, as though you're walking in a place between worlds. You find a patch of wild thyme growing low to the ground, and when you brush against it, the air fills with its sharp, clean scent, medicinal and sweet at once. You kneel and run your fingers through it gently, releasing more of that powerful fragrance, feeling the soft leaves against your skin, feeling connected to all the generations of humans who have known this plant, who have used it and honored it and recognized its particular magic. A bat swoops low overhead, its flight erratic and purposeful at once, chasing insects that you can't see, navigating by sound in a way you can barely imagine. You watch it circle and dive, marveling at its aerial acrobatics, at the precision of its movements, at the way it seems to dance with the darkness rather than fight against it. The cricket's song has grown louder now, or perhaps you're simply more attuned to it, more able to hear its rhythms and patterns. It's not one sound but many, dozens or hundreds of individual crickets each singing their own song, but together creating something unified, something that sounds less like noise and more like music, less like chaos and more like harmony. You realize you've been in the meadow for quite some time, though you couldn't say exactly how long. Time has that quality again, that softness, that expandability. You could stay here all night and it would seem like minutes, or you could leave after minutes and feel as though you've stayed for hours. This is how it is in liminal spaces, in places between, in moments of transition. Time bends, stretches, becomes something malleable and strange. But the path calls to you again, that gentle pull toward continuation, toward forward movement, toward discovering what lies ahead. You take one last look around the meadow, imprinting it on your memory, storing it away in the place where you keep precious things, beautiful things, things that help you remember what peace feels like when the world grows too loud and too harsh. You make your way to the far side of the meadow, where the path enters the forest once more. The trees rise before you like a doorway, like an invitation, like the next chapter in a story that has many chapters yet to unfold. You glance back once at the meadow, at the flowers glowing in the moonlight, at the grass rippling in the breeze, at the stone where you sat, and then you step forward, crossing from open to enclosed, from light to shadow, from one kind of beauty to another. The forest that welcomes you now is different from the one you left. These are pine trees, tall and straight, their bark rough and reddish, their needles dark against the sky. The air changes immediately, taking on that sharp, resinous quality that pine forests have, that clean, almost medicinal scent that clears the head and opens the lungs. The ground beneath your feet is soft with fallen needles, centuries of them creating a thick, springy carpet that muffles your footsteps almost completely. You move through the grove in this silence, your passage barely disturbing the quiet, becoming once more a ghost, a whisper, a thought drifting through the darkness. The moonlight has a harder time penetrating the pine canopy, and the shadows here are deeper, more complete. But your eyes have adjusted fully now, and you find that you can see perfectly well, can navigate the path without difficulty, can appreciate the beauty of this darker, more austere landscape. There's something cathedral-like about a pine grove, something that invites reverence, that encourages silence, that makes you want to walk with your head bowed slightly, with your breath quiet, with your movements measured and respectful. The trees rise straight as pillars, their branches beginning high overhead, creating that sense of vast vertical space that makes you feel small in the best possible way. The silence here is different from the silence in other parts of the forest. It's deeper, more complete, as though the thick carpet of needles absorbs sound, as though the dense canopy holds back even the wind, as though the very trees themselves are keeping some ancient vigil that requires absolute quiet. You place your hand against a pine trunk as you walk, feeling the roughness of bark, feeling the stickiness of sap in places where the tree has been wounded and has healed itself, leaving patches of hardened amber that shine like jewels in the dim light. The tree is warm beneath your touch, still holding heat from the day, and you pause for a moment with your palm pressed flat against it, feeling its life, its strength, its patience growing toward the sky. Pine cones litter the ground, and you notice them crunching softly beneath your feet occasionally, releasing fresh bursts of that distinctive scent. Some are open, their scales spread wide, having already released their seeds. Others are still closed, still holding their potential within, waiting for the right conditions to let go, to scatter their promise on the wind. You pick one up, turning it in your hands, admiring its perfect geometry, the spiral pattern of its scales. The way form and function are so elegantly combined. It's surprisingly heavy, solid, dense with the pine's careful engineering. You tuck it in your pocket, a small souvenir, a physical reminder of this night, this walk, this moment of peace. The path winds through the pines in long, lazy curves, following the natural contours of the land, never forcing itself but always finding the way of least resistance, the gentlest grade, the most harmonious route. You follow it with trust, knowing it will lead you where you need to go, understanding that the journey itself is the destination, that each step is complete in itself, that arrival is just another word for continuation. An owl calls nearby, so close that you startle slightly, looking up to see if you can spot it. And there it is, perched on a low branch, its round face turned toward you, its large eyes reflecting the moonlight with an almost supernatural glow. It watches you with that intense, unblinking stare that owls have, that makes you feel seen in a way that's both disconcerting and strangely comforting. You stand very still, not wanting to disturb it, and for a long moment you and the owl simply regard each other. Two beings sharing space, sharing time, sharing this fragment of existence. Then the owl swivels its head away, its interest in you apparently exhausted, and returns its attention to the more pressing business of hunting, of listening for the tiny sounds that betray the presence of prey. You move on, grateful for the encounter, feeling blessed somehow by the owl's presence, by its willingness to let you see it, to share its space even briefly. These moments of connection with wild creatures feel like gifts, like small miracles, like reminders that you're part of something larger, something that includes all creatures, all living things, all the intricate web of existence that connects bird and tree and human and earth and sky. The pine grove seems to go on, tree after tree rising in silent ranks, their trunks glowing faintly in whatever moonlight manages to filter through. You've lost all sense of direction, all sense of distance, all sense of anything except the immediate experience of walking, breathing, being present in this moment, in this place. And that's fine. That's perfect. You're not lost, because you're not trying to be anywhere else. You're simply here, moving through the pines, part of the grove, part of the night, part of the endless cycle of wandering and returning that has defined human existence since the very beginning. The scent of pine is so strong now that it's all you can smell, all you can taste when you breathe through your mouth. It's become part of you, this sharp, clean fragrance, filling your lungs, entering your bloodstream, altering your chemistry in subtle ways, calming you, centering you, bringing you more fully into your body and your senses. You realize that your mind has grown very quiet. The usual chatter, the endless stream of thoughts and worries and plans and regrets, has faded to almost nothing. There's just this, just walking, just breathing, just the soft crunch of needles beneath your feet and the distant call of the owl and the whisper of wind high in the branches and your own heartbeat, steady and calm, marking time in a way that feels eternal rather than fleeting. The land rises slightly and the pines begin to thin, and soon you find yourself in a place of stones. Large boulders emerge from the earth like the bones of the planet itself, gray and ancient and covered with thick cushions of moss that glow an impossible green even in the moonlight. This is an old place, a place where the earth's skeleton shows through its softer layers, where time is measured not in years but in ages, in epochs, in the slow grinding of continents and the patient wearing away of mountains. You approach one of the largest stones, drawn by its presence, by the way it sits in the landscape as though it has always been there and always will be. The moss is thick and soft beneath your hand when you touch it, like velvet, like the fur of some gentle creature. You can feel moisture in it, dew gathered from the night air, water held in that dense mat of tiny plants. These stones are older than the forest, older than the trees, perhaps older than the very soil that surrounds them. They were here before humans walked this land, before any creatures walked on legs, when the world was young and still finding its shape. There's something humbling about this, about touching something so ancient, about being in the presence of such endurance. You find a flat boulder and sit upon it, feeling the coolness of stone even through the moss, feeling the solidity of it, the absolute certainty of its existence. This stone doesn't wonder about its purpose, doesn't worry about its meaning, doesn't question its place in the world. It simply is, with a completeness that humans can only aspire to, can only approximate in rare moments of grace. The moon is directly overhead now, at its zenith, and its light falls straight down like a silver rain, illuminating everything with an almost harsh clarity. The shadows are crisp and dark. The lit space is brilliant. Everything has edges here, boundaries, a definition that was softer in other parts of the forest. You notice lichen on the stones as well as moss, Those strange organisms that are neither plant nor animal but somehow both, that grow slower than almost anything else on Earth, that measure their lives in centuries. The patterns they make are beautiful, abstract, like paintings created by time itself, like maps of countries that exist only in dimensions we can't perceive. A small spring bubbles up between two stones nearby, clear water welling from deep in the earth, cold and pure and ancient. You can hear it trickling over the rocks, can see it catching the moonlight, can smell its mineral clarity. You cup your hands and dip them in, bringing the water to your lips, tasting it. It's shockingly cold, almost painfully so, and so clean it tastes of nothing, of purity itself, of water as it was before humans ever touched it, before industry and agriculture and all the complications of civilization. The water runs down your chin as you drink, and you laugh softly at your own clumsiness, at the simple joy of drinking from a spring, of taking water directly from the earth, of being in this moment so completely that nothing else exists, nothing else matters. You wash your face with the cold water, feeling it wake your skin, feeling it clear away the last vestiges of tiredness, of ordinary consciousness. The water is a baptism of sorts, a cleansing, a renewal. You emerge from it feeling somehow newer, cleaner, more awake than you've felt in months or years, more present in your own skin, more alive to the miracle of existence. Around you, the stones stand silent witness. They've seen this countless times before. Humans coming to this spring, drinking, washing, being renewed. They'll see it countless times again, long after you're gone, long after everyone you know is gone, long after the current shape of civilization has crumbled and been replaced by something new. The stones endure. The water flows. The earth continues its patient turning. You sit beside the spring for a while, listening to its gentle music, watching the way it moves over and around the stones, finding its way with the same patient inevitability that water always has, always will have, until the seas dry up and the earth goes cold and silent. But that's so far in the future as to be meaningless, and right now the water is flowing, the moon is shining, you are here, and that's all that matters. A breeze stays through the stone garden, colder here than in the forest, unimpeded by trees. It carries the scent of high places, of mountain peaks and thin air, of the world above the tree line where nothing grows but rock and sky and snow. You shiver slightly and pull your clothing tighter around you, but it's not an unpleasant shiver. It's invigorating, awakening, reminding you that you have a body, that you are alive, that you can feel. The moss beneath your hands is growing cool now, releasing the last of its captured warmth to the night. You press your palms flat against it, feeling that transfer of heat, that small exchange of energy, that reminder that everything is constantly giving and receiving, that nothing exists in isolation, that we are all part of an endless exchange of matter and energy and life. You rise eventually, reluctantly, feeling drawn onward by the path that continues beyond the stones, that wins between the boulders and disappears into shadow. You take one last drink from the spring, one last touch of the ancient stones, one last breath of the cold wind from high places, and then you continue your journey, carrying the stone garden with you in memory, in sensation, in the cold clarity of spring water still lingering on your lips. Beyond the stones, the path descends into a valley, and the world becomes green again. Ferns grow everywhere here, their fronds unfurling in graceful arcs, their delicate leaves trembling in the slightest breeze. The moonlight filtering through them creates patterns of light and shadow so intricate they seem almost deliberate, almost designed, like lacework woven by patient hands. You push through the ferns gently, feeling them brush against your legs, feeling their coolness, their dampness. The air here is heavy with moisture, thick with the breath of growing things, rich with the smell of soil and decay and new life all mingled together. This is a fertile place, a place where things grow easily, where the cycle of life and death moves quickly, where the earth is constantly turning over, constantly renewing itself. The ferns are many varieties, you notice as you walk. Some are small and delicate, their fronds barely a few inches high. Others tower over you, their fronds as wide as your outstretched arms. Their presence almost prehistoric, calling back to ages when ferns ruled the earth, when they grew as tall as trees, when they were the dominant life form on a planet that would not see flowers for millions of years more. You touch one of the larger ferns gently, tracing your finger along a frond, feeling the individual leaflets, noting their symmetry, their perfect repetition of form. There's something mathematical about ferns, something that speaks to deep patterns, to fractals and spirals and all the hidden geometry that underlies the apparent chaos of nature. The path here is barely visible, more suggestion than actual trail, and you find yourself navigating by instinct, by feel, by following the slight openings between fern clusters, by trusting that the way will reveal itself as you need it. And it does. It always does, because this is how paths work in wild places. They don't announce themselves boldly but offer themselves quietly to those who are paying attention, who are moving slowly enough to see the subtle signs. A small creek runs through the valley, barely more than a trickle, but its sound is everywhere, echoing off the fern fronds, multiplying until it seems as though you're surrounded by moving water. You follow the sound, pushing through thicker growth now, and emerge at its bank. The creek is shallow and narrow, flowing over a bed of smooth pebbles that shine like jewels in the moonlight. You crouch beside it, trailing your fingers through the water, watching it flow around your hand, feeling its coolness, its constant movement, its patient journey from source to sea. Small stones line the bottom, each one unique, each one worn smooth by the endless caress of water. You pick one up, admiring its shape, its color, the way it fits perfectly in your palm as though made to be held. It's dark and smooth, with veins of lighter mineral running through it like rivers on a map, like roads connecting distant cities, like all the pathways that connect all things. You pocket this stone too, adding it to the pine cone, building a collection of small treasures, of physical reminders of this night's journey. These objects will sit on a shelf somewhere in your everyday life, and when you see them you'll remember this. Remember the peace. Remember the moonlight and the ferns and the cold water on your hands. The creek babbles its incomprehensible language, and you sit beside it for a while, just listening, just being. There's something eternally soothing about moving water, something that speaks to something deep in the human psyche, that calls us back to our origins, to the fact that we are mostly water ourselves, to the truth that life began in water and still depends on it, that we carry the ocean in our blood and the rivers in our tears. Fireflies begin to appear as you sit there, tiny points of light floating through the ferns, blinking on and off in their mysterious patterns, their own secret language of light and darkness. You watch them with childlike wonder, with delight that never diminishes no matter how many times you've seen them, because they are small miracles, these creatures that carry light within themselves, that transform chemical energy into luminescence, that dance through the darkness like earthbound stars. One lands on your arm, and you freeze, barely breathing, watching as it crawls slowly across your skin, its legs tickling slightly, its body dark between the moments of light. Then it lights up, right there on your arm, and for that brief instant you are part of its display, part of its seeking, part of its ancient dance. Then it flies off, rejoining its fellows in the ferns, leaving you grateful and delighted and somehow more aware of your own light, your own capacity for illumination, for bringing brightness into dark places. The ferns rustle around you, moved by a breeze you can barely feel, and their sound is like whispered secrets, like soft conversations, like the forest telling itself stories about the millions of lives that unfold within it, about the endless dramas of predator and prey, of growth and decay. of connection and separation that play out every moment in the darkness. You rise from your seat by the creek, your legs slightly stiff from sitting, your body reminded once again that it is a physical thing, subject to the laws of gravity and time and the need for movement. You stretch, feeling your spine lengthen, feeling your muscles wake and respond, feeling gratitude for this body that carries you through the world, that lets you experience beauty, that lets you walk through moonlit forests and touch ancient stones and drink from cold springs. The path continues on the far side of the creek, a series of flat stones providing a bridge across the water. You step from stone to stone carefully, mindfully, knowing that one misstep would mean wet feet and the remainder of the journey in discomfort. But your balance is good, your body knows how to do this, and you cross without incident, pleased with yourself in a quiet way, satisfied with this small success, this small mastery. On the far side, the ferns begin to thin, and the land rises slightly, and you sense that you're leaving the valley, moving toward something new, some new landscape, some new chapter in this nighttime story. You look back once at the fern valley, at the fireflies still dancing their slow dance, at the creek reflecting fragments of moonlight, at the green world that welcomed you and let you pass through, and then you turn and follow the path upward, toward whatever comes next. The trees change again, and suddenly you're walking among birches, their white bark glowing in the moonlight like pillars of captured light, like ghostly sentinels standing watch over the forest's heart. This is a younger forest, you can tell, the trees slender and graceful, their branches delicate, their leaves small and trembling, creating a constant soft rustling that's almost like rain, almost like applause, almost like the earth itself whispering approval. The birch bark catches your attention immediately, so white it almost hurts to look at in the full moonlight, so bright it seems to generate its own illumination. You approach one of the trees and examine its bark closely, seeing the way it peels in thin layers, like pages of a book written in a language you can't read but can somehow feel, can somehow understand in a place deeper than words. There's something cheerful about birches, something that lifts the spirit. After the solemnity of the pines and the ancient mystery of the stone garden and the wet fecundity of the fern valley, the birches feel like a celebration, like laughter, like the forest reminding you that not everything has to be serious, that beauty can also be light, playful, joyous. The ground beneath them is covered with fallen leaves, heart-shaped and delicate, golden during the day but silver now in the moonlight. They rustle with each step you take, creating a sound that's both intimate and public, announcing your presence while also somehow being a private sound, something meant just for you, a conversation between your feet and the earth. You notice the way the birches grow in clusters, family groups perhaps, multiple trunks rising from shared roots, leaning against each other, supporting each other, intertwining their branches overhead in patterns of mutual support. There's a lesson here about community, about the way we need each other, about the strength that comes from connection rather than isolation. The path winds through the birch stand in loose curves, and you follow it easily, your body now completely attuned to this rhythm of walking, of moving through darkness, of trusting the path to reveal itself. You're not thinking about destination anymore, not wondering how much farther or when you'll arrive. You've entered a state beyond such concerns, a place where the walking itself is enough, where each moment is complete, where there's no need to be anywhere other than exactly where you are. A breeze moves through the birches, and their leaves create that distinctive sound, that soft rushing that's somehow both exciting and calming, both energizing and peaceful. The whole stand seems to shimmer, seems to move as one organism, one vast network of root and branch and leaf all connected, all communicating in ways that science is only beginning to understand, in ways that poets have always known. You pause in the center of the stand, turning slowly, looking up at the canopy overhead, at the way the white trunks rise and divide into increasingly delicate branches, at the way the moonlight filters through the trembling leaves, creating patterns that are never the same twice, that will never be seen again in exactly this configuration, that are unique to this moment, this place, this particular arrangement of leaf and light and shadow. There's something deeply peaceful about this realization, about understanding that you're standing in a moment that will never repeat, that is precious precisely because it's fleeting, that gains meaning from its impermanence. You don't need to capture it, don't need to photograph it or memorize it or hold on to it. You just need to be in it, fully in it, letting it wash through you and change you in whatever small ways it will. Your breathing has matched itself to the rustling of the leaves, in and out, and you realize you've been standing here for some time, lost in a kind of waking dream, present but not quite present, here but also somewhere else, somewhere timeless, somewhere that exists outside the normal flow of minutes and hours and days. A bird calls from somewhere in the branches, not the nightingale or the owl, but something smaller. Some dead bird that should be sleeping but has woken for some reason, some disturbance or dream or simple restlessness that all creatures feel sometimes. Its call is questioning, uncertain, and you feel a kinship with it. This small confused being awake when it should be asleep, navigating darkness when it's built for light. But then it settles. You hear the rustling as it adjusts on its branch, and silence returns, broken only by the leaves and the breeze and your own soft breathing. The moment of disturbance passes, becomes part of the larger pattern, gets absorbed into the night's vast patience. You continue walking, moving through the birch stand with a sense of lightness, of buoyancy, as though their whiteness has somehow entered you, has somehow lifted something heavy that you were carrying without knowing it. The trees seem to bless you as you pass, their white trunks like markers, like mileposts, like witnesses to your passage. The stand begins to thin on its far edge, the birches giving way to other trees, mixing with oaks and maples, creating a transitional zone where different worlds meet and mingle. You're leaving the lightness of the birches behind, moving towards something denser, older, more complex. But you carry their gift with you, that sense of lightness, that reminder that not everything has to be heavy, that there is room in life for joy, for beauty that lifts rather than grounds, for moments that make you smile for no reason other than that they exist, that you exist, that the world exists in all its impossible, improbable glory. Just past the birch stand, the path leads you to a tree unlike any other you've passed tonight. It's an ancient oak, massive and gnarled, but what catches your attention is the hollow in its trunk, a dark opening large enough for a person to stand in, created by centuries of slow decay, of patient surrender to time and weather, and the small organisms that retain even the mightiest trees eventually to the soil. You're drawn to this opening, to this wound that has become a feature, to this absence that has somehow become a presence. You step closer, peering into the darkness within, feeling the cooler air that flows from it, smelling the deep, rich scent of old wood, of decay, of the slow transformation of matter from one form to another. The inside of the tree is surprisingly spacious, and after a moment's hesitation, you step inside, entering this small cave, this pocket of darkness within the larger darkness. The walls around you are smooth where rot has softened the wood, rough where harder layers remain. You can reach up and touch the ceiling, can press your hands against the curved walls, can feel yourself enclosed, held, contained in a way that's comforting rather than confining. This tree is dying, has been dying for years, perhaps for decades, but it's still alive, still pushing out leaves each spring, still reaching toward the sun, still fighting in its slow vegetable way against the inevitable. There's something courageous about this, something that speaks to persistence, to endurance, to the refusal to give up even when the outcome is certain. You sit down inside the hollow, making yourself comfortable on the soft floor of decayed wood and accumulated leaf litter. From here, looking out through the opening, You can see the forest framed like a picture, like a window into another world. The moonlight seems brighter from in here, the shadows deeper, the contrast more stark. Inside the hollow, you feel safe in a primal way, protected, hidden, held. This is what our ancestors must have felt when they found caves, when they discovered shelter from weather and predators, when they transformed from creatures of the open savanna to creatures of thresholds, of edges, of places between outside and inside. Some part of your brain that is very old recognizes this space, celebrates it, relaxes into it. You close your eyes for a moment, just feeling, just being. The darkness behind your eyelids is different from the darkness outside them, more complete, more absolute. You can hear your heartbeat, slow and steady, can hear your breath moving in and out, can hear small sounds from outside that seem amplified by the hollow's acoustics, the rustle of leaves, the movement of some small creature through the undergrowth, the distant call of an owl. Time becomes strange again, elastic, unmeasured. You might sit here for 5 minutes or 50. There's no way to know and no need to know. The hollow exists outside of time in some way. A pocket of stillness, a pause in the narrative, a rest between verses. When you open your eyes again, you feel somehow renewed, as though you've slept, though you know you haven't, know you've been awake and aware the whole time. But there's been some kind of restoration anyway, some subtle replenishment of reserves you didn't know you depleted, some quiet healing of wounds you didn't know you carried. You reach out and touch the wall of the hollow, pressing your palm flat against the smooth, rotten wood. This tree has given so much. It has given shade in summer, shelter for countless creatures, oxygen to breathe, beauty to look at, wood for human use. And now, in its slow dying, it's giving shelter again, giving comfort, giving this moment of peace and safety and deep quiet. You whisper a thank you, feeling only slightly foolish, feeling mostly grateful, wanting to acknowledge this gift, wanting to honor this tree's long life and longer dying, wanting to add your small voice to the choir of all beings who have benefited from its existence. The tree, of course, doesn't answer, but something shifts anyway, some subtle change in the quality of the darkness, the silence, as though your gratitude has been received, acknowledged, accepted. You feel lighter as you rise to your feet, feel more connected, feel part of the great web of reciprocity that binds all living things. You step out of the hollow, out of that protected space, back into the larger forest. The night air feels fresh on your face after the closeness of the hollow. The moonlight seems brighter, the world seems larger, but you carry the hollow with you. Carry that sense of shelter and safety and deep peace. Carry it as another gift added to the collection you're gathering on this walk. The path continues beyond the hollow tree, winding deeper into the forest, and you follow it with renewed energy, renewed purpose, though the purpose is still only to walk, to be present, to allow the night and the forest to work their subtle magic on your soul. You look back once at the hollow tree, at that dark opening in its pale trunk, at that wound that has become a feature, that loss that has become a gift. Then you turn and walk on, carrying its blessing, carrying its lesson about transformation, about how endings contain beginnings, about how loss can become something else, something useful, something beautiful in its own right. The path begins to climb now, more steeply than before, and you feel it in your legs, in your breath, in the way your heart rate increases slightly. The forest here is mixed, oaks and maples and occasional pines, their roots breaking through the path in places, creating natural steps that you use to pull yourself upward. You're ascending a ridge, you realize, climbing toward higher ground, toward a place where you'll be able to see further, to gain perspective, to look out over the landscape rather than being enclosed by it. The thought fills you with anticipation, with curiosity about what views await, about what the world looks like from above rather than within. The climb is gradual but steady, and you settle into its rhythm, one step after another, breath-matching movement, body doing what bodies are designed to do, what your ancestors did for millions of years, walking, climbing, moving through landscapes, seeking higher ground, seeking safety, seeking perspective. As you climb, the air grows noticeably cooler, cleaner, touched with the chill of altitude, with the breath of wind that moves more freely at height. The trees begin to thin, their growth stunted by exposure, by wind, by the harsher conditions that prevail on ridges and hilltops. You pause partway up to catch your breath, tending to look back the way you came. Below you, the forest stretches out in waves of darkness and silver, the tree canopy rolling like a frozen sea, broken here and there by patches of moonlight where clearings or meadows open to the sky. It's beautiful in a vast, inhuman way, beautiful with the beauty of things that existed before humans and will continue after, beautiful with the indifference of nature to human concerns, human values, human meanings. But you don't feel excluded by this indifference. Instead, you feel freed by it, relieved of the need to impose meaning, relieved of the burden of significance. The forest simply is, and you simply are. And for this moment that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. You continue climbing, feeling your muscles warm and stretch, feeling your body settle into the hike, finding its efficiency, its rhythm, its ancient knowledge of how to move uphill through darkness over uncertain ground. Your feet find their placement without conscious thought. Your hands reach for support when needed. Your balance adjusts constantly to the changing slope and terrain. The ridge top approaches, marked by a line of trees silhouetted against the sky, their form stark and simple, reduced to pure shape, pure presence. You push through the last steep section, breathing harder now, feeling the effort but also feeling strong, capable, glad to have a body that can do this, that can carry you up mountains in the moonlight, that can meet challenges and overcome them. And then you're there, standing on the ridge top, and the world opens around you in all directions. The forest falls away below, rolling down into valleys you walked through earlier, valleys still to come. In the distance, you can see other ridges, other hills, layer upon layer of them receding into the moonlit distance, each one paler than the last until they fade into silver mist at the horizon. The sky is enormous here, no longer broken into fragments by branches, but whole and vast and overwhelming in its scope. The moon hangs huge and bright, painting everything in its cold light, transforming the world into something otherworldly, something that belongs more to dream than waking reality. The wind is stronger here, constant, flowing over the ridge like water over a stone, carrying scents from far away, from places you'll never visit, from forests and fields and waters beyond your knowing. It moves through your hair, presses against your clothes, reminds you that you're standing in a river of air, that the atmosphere itself is always in motion, always flowing, always changing. You find a flat rock near the ridge's highest point and sit, giving yourself time to rest, to absorb this place, to let this perspective sink into you. From here, the concerns of ordinary life seem very small, very distant, very manageable. The problems that loom so large in daily existence shrink to proper proportions when viewed from a mountaintop under the moon. You're aware of your own smallness here, but also of your connection to everything you can see, everything that lies beyond seeing. You're one small point in a vast network, one small consciousness in a universe full of consciousness, one small life woven into the vast tapestry of life that covers this planet, that reaches toward the stars, that exists in forms and places you can barely imagine. The stars are thick above you, undimmed by city lights, unfiltered by atmospheric haze, brilliant and sharp and numerous beyond counting. You try to find constellations but find instead that you're content to simply look, to take in the sheer abundance of them, the impossible number. the vast distances they represent, the light that left them years or centuries or millennia ago and is only now reaching your eyes, connecting you across time and space to distant suns. A meteor streaks across the sky, brief and bright, and you catch your breath at the beauty of it, at the perfect timing of it, at the way the universe offers small gifts to those patient enough to watch, to wait, to pay attention. The meteor burns up in seconds, but its memory lingers. Another treasure added to this night's collection, another moment of pure wonder that you'll carry always. You sit on the ridge for a long time, suspended between earth and sky, between forest and stars, between the solid ground beneath you and the infinite space above. The wind flows over you, through you, and you feel yourself becoming porous, becoming permeable, becoming less solid and more like wind yourself, like moonlight, like thought, like possibility. Eventually, because even perfect moments must end, because the path continues beyond this ridge, because forward movement is part of the journey's nature, you rise from your rock and prepare to descend. But you're changed by this place, by this perspective, by this brief time spent between earth and sky. You carry the ridge with you as you start down the far side. Carry its wind and its vastness and its cold clarity. Carry its reminder that there are always higher places, wider views, perspectives beyond the immediate and the pressing. Going down is different from going up, requires different muscles, different balance, different attention. You move carefully, mindful of loose stones, of roots that could catch your feet, of the way gravity pulls you forward faster than you might want to go. But your body knows this too, has its own wisdom about descent, about controlled falling, about working with gravity rather than against it. The forest closes around you again as you lose altitude, the trees growing taller and closer, the canopy reforming overhead, filtering the moonlight back into fragments and patches. There's something comforting about this return to enclosure, to being held by the forest again rather than exposed on the ridge top, though you carry the memory of that exposure, that vastness, that connection to sky and distance. Your legs feel the work of descent, feel the effort of braking, of controlling speed, of maintaining balance. It's a different kind of tiredness than climbing produced, but tiredness nonetheless, a good tiredness, the kind that comes from physical work, from using your body for what it was designed to do, from moving through the world under your own power. The path switchbacks down the ridge face, taking a long, easy route rather than the steep, direct descent. You're grateful for its wisdom, for the way it eases your passage, for the way someone long ago understood how to work with the land rather than against it, how to create a path that flows, that feels natural, that treats the forest gently. As you descend, you notice the way the forest changes with altitude. The trees become larger, their leaves fuller, their growth more vigorous. The undergrowth thickens, the air warms slightly. You're returning to lower ground, to richer soil, to the forest's more fertile zones where life abounds in greater density and diversity. The moon is lower in the sky now. You notice when you catch glimpses of it through the canopy. The night is aging, moving toward its end, though dawn is still hours away. You've been walking for a long time, though it feels simultaneously like minutes and like forever, like no time at all and like all the time in the world. Your feet find their rhythm again now that the steepest descent is behind you, now that the path is gentled, now that you're walking more than climbing down. The meditative quality returns, that sense of moving through space without effort, without thought, letting the body lead while the mind rests, watches, notices. You pass through a grove of young maples, their leaves rustling in the breeze, their bark still smooth and unmarked by age, their whole lives ahead of them. There's something hopeful about young trees, something that speaks to the future, to continuation, to the forest's constant renewal of itself. These trees will be here long after you're gone, will grow tall and strong, will provide shade and shelter, will drop their seeds to create more trees, will be part of the endless cycle of growth and return that has no beginning and no end. The path levels out completely now, and you know you're nearing the valley floor, returning to lower ground after your journey to the heights. There's a sense of completion in this, of having gone up and come down, of having experienced both perspectives, both the vista from above and the intimacy of within. A small stream appears beside the path, probably a tributary of the larger stream you encountered earlier. All water eventually joining, all flows connecting, all separate things revealed as parts of one vast system. You follow it for a while, enjoying its company, its cheerful burbling, its constant motion and change. The forest here feels softer somehow, more welcoming, as though you're returning to a familiar place, to known ground. The trees lean toward the stream, their roots exposed along its banks, their branches reaching across the water to touch those on the opposite side, creating natural bridges, natural archways, natural expressions of connection and support. You notice that you're tired now, truly tired, not just physically but in a deeper way, a good way, the way you feel after a full day of honest work, after giving yourself completely to something, after holding nothing back. This tiredness is satisfying, is earned, is a kind of accomplishment all its own. But the walk isn't over yet. The path continues ahead, and you follow it, trusting that it will lead you where you need to go, trusting in the journey's unfolding, trusting in the night and the forest and the moon that has guided you through all of this, that continues to shine overhead, patient and constant and unconcerned with human tiredness or human needs or human anything. The stream veers away from the path, and you bid it a silent farewell, grateful for its company, for its song, for the way it marked your descent and accompanied you back to level ground. Water always finds its way, always flows toward its destination, and there's something to learn from this, from water's patient persistence, from its willingness to go around obstacles rather than trying to force through them, from its understanding that the destination will be reached in time, that there's no rush, that the journey is itself the point. You walk on through the thinning darkness, through the forest that has held you and healed you and offered you its silent gifts, through the moonlight and shadow, through the quiet and the small sounds that make quiet bearable. Each step is a step closer to completion, to return, to the place where this journey began. But each step is also complete in itself, needs nothing beyond itself, is enough all on its own. The path leads you to a grove of willows growing beside a wider, slower part of the stream, their long branches hanging down like curtains of green, their leaves narrow and delicate, trembling in the slightest breeze. There's something melancholy about willows, something that speaks to sadness, to loss, to tears. But there's beauty in melancholy too, a depth that joy alone cannot reach, a richness that comes only through acknowledgement of sorrow. You walk among the willows slowly, pushing aside their hanging branches, feeling them slide across your face and shoulders like gentle fingers, like blessings, like absolution. The sound they make is soft, susurrant, like whispered conversations, like secrets shared, like all the things that need to be said but cannot be spoken aloud. The stream here is wider and moves more slowly, its surface smooth and dark, reflecting the sky and moon with such clarity that it's hard to tell where water ends and sky begins. You stand at its edge, looking down into this liquid mirror, seeing yourself reflected there, seeing the moon and stars reflected there, seeing everything mixed together, earth and sky and human all blended into one image, one moment, one brief instant of unity. There's a large flat stone extending slightly into the water, and you step out onto it, carefully, mindfully, testing your balance before committing your weight. From here you're surrounded by water on three sides, surrounded by reflection, surrounded by beauty that is both real and illusory, both substantial and insubstantial, both here and not here. You sit on the stone, dangling your legs over the edge, and the water flows past your feet, cool and constant, uncaring and yet somehow caring, indifferent and yet somehow present. You can see fish moving in the shallows, dark shapes gliding through darker water, their motion smooth and effortless, their bodies perfectly designed for this element, for this way of being. A willow branch hangs low over the water nearby, its tip just touching the surface, creating small ripples that spread outward in perfect circles, intersecting and interfering with each other, creating patterns of interference and reinforcement, of wave meeting wave, of motion creating more motion, of the way every action has consequences that spread far beyond their origin. You watch these ripples for a long time, mesmerized by their perfect geometry, by their constant motion, by the way they spread and fade and are constantly replaced by new ones, by the way nothing is ever still, ever static, ever fixed. Everything flows, everything moves, everything changes, and trying to hold on to things, trying to keep them the same, trying to stop the motion is like trying to hold water in your hands. It can't be done, and the trying only causes suffering. The willows sway gently in the breeze, their branches sweeping over the water like brooms, like brushes, like the long hair of some vast being bent low to drink. Their movement is hypnotic, calming, and you feel your breathing slow even further. Feel yourself sinking into a state that's almost meditative, almost trance-like, where thoughts become distant and quiet and the only reality is this moment, this place, this perfect confluence of water and tree and moonlight and self. A frog calls from somewhere across the stream, its voice deep and resonant, and another answers from nearby, and soon the whole grove is alive with their calling, the ancient chorus, the nightly ritual of seeking and answering, of connection and response. You smile at their earnestness, at their persistence, at the way they call and call and call, never giving up, always hoping, always seeking connection in the darkness. The moon reflects in the water before you, its image trembling slightly with the current, breaking apart around stones and reforming on the far side, constant yet ever-changing, always itself yet never the same twice. You could sit here all night watching this, watching the play of light and water, watching the willows sway, watching the fish glide past, watching the world unfold itself in its own patient way. But the path calls you onward. It always does. The path is patient but also insistent, always leading forward, always promising something more, something new, something worth the effort of continuation. You rise from your stone, feeling your joints creak slightly, feeling your muscles protest slightly after so much walking, so much climbing, so much continuous movement. You step back onto solid ground and turn to look once more at the willow grove, at the stream flowing dark and smooth between its banks, at the hanging branches that create such delicate beauty, such mournful grace. You've been changed by this place too, have absorbed some of its melancholy, some of its quiet sadness, but you don't mind. Sadness is part of the full range of human experience, and there's something healing about allowing it space, about acknowledging it, about sitting with it beside dark water under weeping trees. The path leads you away from the willows, back into drier forest, and as you walk you carry the grove's gift with you. Carry its permission to feel deeply, to acknowledge loss, to honor sorrow while also continuing to move forward, to live, to seek whatever light exists even in darkness, even in sadness, even in the deepest and most challenging moments of existence. The forest has grown familiar now, or perhaps you have grown familiar with forestness itself, with the way trees stand and shadows fall and moonlight filters through leaves. You move through it like something native, like something that belongs, your footsteps confident, your path sure, your connection to this place as deep as roots, as strong as trunks, as enduring as stone. You recognize this section of forest, realize you're nearing the place where you began, completing the circuit, returning to familiar ground after your long wandering through moonlight and shadow, through high places and low, through water and stone and every variation of tree and plant and earth. There's satisfaction in this recognition, in knowing where you are, in feeling the journey shape complete itself, reveal its act, show its intention. But there's also a small sadness in it, because completion means ending, means returning to ordinary time, to ordinary concerns, to the world of obligations and schedules and all the structures that make civilization possible but also make it heavy, burdensome, complex in ways that have nothing to do with the honest complexity of forests and streams and the patient cycles of nature. You slow your pace, not wanting to rush these final steps, wanting to savor what remains, wanting to hold on to this feeling of peace and presence and connection for as long as possible. The world will still be there when you return to it, will still have all its demands and needs and expectations, but right now there's only this, only walking, only the soft crunch of leaves beneath your feet and the whisper of breeze through branches and the moon overhead painting everything silver. The trees here are the same ones you passed at the beginning, the familiar oaks with their spreading branches, the path worn smooth by countless feet over countless years, all the small landmarks that tell you you're nearing home, nearing rest, nearing the end of this particular journey, even as you know that in another sense the journey never ends, that you'll carry this night with you always, that it has changed you in ways both obvious and subtle, in ways you'll discover gradually over days, and weeks and years to come. You notice things you missed on the way out, details that reveal themselves only to someone moving slowly, paying attention, present in each moment. A bird's nest in a low branch, a particular pattern of lichen on stone, the way two trees have grown together, their trunks fused where they touch, two become one, separate yet unified, distinct yet merged. Everything has significance when you look closely enough, when you grant things the attention they deserve, when you approach the world with curiosity rather than judgment, with openness rather than preconception. An old log lies across the path, covered with moss and mushrooms, and you stop to examine it more closely. Shelf fungi grow along one side, their surfaces smooth and ribbed, beautiful in their own strange way. Beetles scurry in the crevices. A small spider has built its web between two pieces of loose bark. This log is an entire world unto itself, supporting dozens or hundreds of species, providing food and shelter, breaking down slowly to return nutrients to the soil, fulfilling its purpose even in death, perhaps especially in death. There's a lesson here about usefulness, about value, about the way our culture often defines worth too narrowly, measures significance too simply. This log cannot walk or think or create art or write poetry, but it is perhaps more valuable than any of those things, because it is part of the cycle, part of the great turning of matter from one form to another, part of the engine that keeps the forest alive, keeps life itself continuing, keeps the whole vast web functioning. You step over the log carefully, respectfully, honoring its slow transformation, honoring all the life it supports, honoring its patient surrender to gravity and decay and the countless small mouths that are consuming it bit by bit, retaining it to soil, to elemental components, to the raw materials from which new life will spring. The garden gate is visible ahead now, that simple wooden structure that marks the boundary between wild and tamed, between forest and human habitation, between the world of moonlight and shadow and the world of electric lights and running water and all the comforts and complications of modern life. You can see it through the trees, can see the garden beyond it, can see the house beyond that, solid and familiar and waiting. Part of you wants to rush toward it, to complete the journey, to return to the known and comfortable and safe. But a deeper part of you wants to slow down even further, to postpone the ending, to hold onto this liminal state for as long as possible, this state of being between worlds, neither fully in the forest nor fully returned to civilization, suspended in a kind of eternal present where anything is possible, where the normal rules don't quite apply. where magic still exists in the form of moonlight and ancient trees and the sound of wind through leaves. You choose the slower approach, honoring that deeper voice, trusting its wisdom. You walk the final 100 yards as though they were miles, as though you have all the time in the world, as though each step deserves its own attention, its own appreciation, its own acknowledgement. And in truth, you do have all the time in the world, because time has become irrelevant again, has lost its power, has revealed itself as just another human construct, useful perhaps, but not ultimately real, not ultimately important. The moon is lower in the sky now, approaching the horizon, but still bright, still present, still casting its cool light across everything. You've walked beneath it for hours now, have been guided by it, have been blessed by it, have moved through the night held in its silver gaze. You feel gratitude toward it, toward this celestial companion that has shared your journey, that has illuminated your path, that has transformed ordinary forest into something magical, something sacred, something that will live in your memory always. You reach the gate and pause with your hand on its warm wood, feeling the smooth places where countless other hands have touched it, where weather and time have worn away the roughness, have created a surface that feels almost alive, almost warm despite the night's coolness. This gate has stood here for years, decades perhaps, marking this boundary, welcoming wanderers home, saying goodbye to those heading out into the forest's embrace. You don't open it immediately. Instead, you turn and look back the way you came, back into the forest that has held you and healed you and shared its secrets. The path disappears into shadow beneath the trees, leading back to all the places you've been, all the wonders you've witnessed, all the quiet revelations you've received. It's still there, will always be there, waiting for the next time you need it, for the next moment when ordinary life becomes too heavy and you need to remember what peace feels like. Then you turn back and open the gate, its hinges creaking softly, announcing your return, welcoming you back. The garden lies before you, tamed and ordered compared to the wild forest, but beautiful in its own way, human and intentional, a different kind of beauty, a different kind of peace. Flowers grow in neat beds, their heads knotted closed for the night. Herbs release their scent as you brush past them. Everything here has been placed with purpose, has been chosen, has been cared for. You follow the garden path slowly, still not quite ready to be fully home, still wanting to hold onto the liminal quality of the night, the sense of existing between worlds. The gravel crunches softly under your feet, a different sound from earth and leaf litter, a more domestic sound, a sound that speaks of home and safety and rest. A cat appears from beneath a bush, its eyes reflecting the moonlight in that eerie way that cat eyes do, turning your familiar pet into something briefly alien, briefly wild. It meows softly and winds around your legs, mocking you with its scent, reclaiming you, pulling you back into the domestic world of feeding schedules and warm laps and the simple, uncomplicated affection of animals that have chosen to live alongside humans. You bend and scratch behind its ears, feeling its purr rumble against your hand, feeling its solid warmth, feeling grateful for this small creature's presence, for its companionship, for the way it bridges the gap between wild and tame, between forest and home. The cat has its own night adventures, you know, disappears into the darkness to hunt and explore and do whatever cats do when humans aren't watching. You share that now, that experience of the night, that knowledge of what the world is like when most humans are sleeping. The house looms ahead, dark except for one light left on in a window, a beacon of welcome, of home, of return. You can see your reflection in the window glass as you approach, can see yourself transformed by the night's journey, marked by it in ways both visible and invisible, changed by hours of walking, of breathing forest air, of moving through darkness guided only by moonlight and trust. Your hand finds the door handle, cool metal against your palm, and you pause one final time before going inside, before crossing that final threshold, before fully returning to the world of walls and roofs and artificial light. You look up at the moon one last time, seeing it lower now, seeing it beginning its own journey toward rest, toward setting, toward the horizon and whatever lies beyond. Thank you. You think, though you're not sure if you're thanking the moon or the forest or the night itself or something larger and less definable, some spirit of place or peace or presence that has accompanied you through this journey. Thank you for this time, for this space, for this reminder of what exists beyond the narrow confines of ordinary life, for this gift of peace and perspective and connection. The moon doesn't answer, of course, but something shifts in the quality of its light, or perhaps in your perception of its light, and you feel acknowledged, feel heard, feel blessed. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. You open the door and step inside, crossing from moonlight into lamplight, from night into shelter, from journey into arrival. But you carry the forest with you. Carry the stream and the stones and the trees and the moonlight. Carry them in your memory, in your body, in the deep places where transformation happens, where healing occurs, where peace takes root and grows. Inside, the house wraps around you like a gentle embrace, familiar and safe, smelling of home, of your life, of all the small comforts and rituals that make a space truly yours. You close the door softly behind you, shutting out the night but not shutting out what the night has given you, not shutting out the peace and presence and deep quiet that you've gathered like flowers, like stones in your pockets, like gifts too precious to leave behind. You move through the house quietly, not wanting to disturb its sleeping peace, not wanting to jar yourself too suddenly from the dreamlike state of the night into the harder-edged reality of morning, even though morning is still hours away, even though the night still holds its claim on the world, on you, on this space between sunset and sunrise that has become sacred, that has become transformative, that has become a doorway to something deeper than ordinary consciousness. You pause in the kitchen, filling a glass with water from the tap, drinking deeply, tasting the difference between this water and the spring water you drank in the forest, tasting the chemicals that make it safe, the treatment that makes it civilized, but also tasting water itself, that essential element, that basis of life, that substance that connects tap water and spring water and ocean water and the water in your own cells, all of it part of the same vast cycle of evaporation and rain and flow and return. The water is cold and clean and satisfying, and you drink a second glass, and then a third, realizing how thirsty you are, how much water your body needs after hours of walking, after the work of moving through the world under your own power, after the quiet exertion of this night's journey. Your body knows what it needs, knows how to ask for it, and you're learning to listen better, learning to trust its wisdom, learning to honor its requests. You set the glass in the sink and make your way to the bathroom, catching sight of yourself in the mirror there. You look different, somehow. Your face is flushed from walking, your hair is mussed from wind and branches. Your eyes are bright in a way they haven't been in weeks or months, as though the moonlight has entered them, as though some of the forest's wild beauty has transferred itself to you, has marked you, has claimed you as one of its own. You wash your face with cold water, feeling it shock your skin awake, feeling it rinse away sweat and dust and the accumulated grime of the walk. But you don't wash away the feeling of the night, the sense of peace and presence that has settled into your bones, that has become part of you in a way that no amount of washing could remove. You dry your face and look at yourself again, seeing not just your reflection but also the memory of your reflection in the stream, in the dark water beneath the willows, in the window glass as you approach the house. All these reflections layered over each other, all these versions of yourself existing simultaneously, all true, all real, all part of the complex truth of what it means to be human, to be conscious, to be alive in a world of such impossible beauty and difficulty. You make your way to the bedroom, your body now insisting on rest, on sleep, on the deep unconsciousness that will allow it to process the night's experiences, to integrate them, to make sense of them in the way that only sleep can, through dreams and the strange alchemy that happens when consciousness releases its grip and the deeper mind takes over. You undress slowly, carefully, noticing small scratches on your arms from branches, noticing dirt under your fingernails, noticing the way your muscles ache in that good way that comes from honest use, from movement, from the body doing what it was designed to do. These small marks are medals, are proofs of your journey, are evidence that it really happened, that you really walked through moonlit forests, really touched ancient stones, really drank from cold springs and stood on high ridges and moved through the world as humans have always moved, with attention and presence and deep respect for the land that holds us. You slip between the sheets, feeling their coolness against your warm skin, feeling the bed's softness after hours of walking on hard ground, feeling the mattress conform to your body's shape, supporting you, holding you, allowing you to finally release, to finally let go, to finally surrender to the tiredness that has been growing throughout the walk, but that you've been holding at bay through will and curiosity and the sheer pleasure of movement. You lie there in the darkness, but it's a different darkness now, a domestic darkness, contained by walls and ceiling, small and safe compared to the vast darkness of the forest, the endless darkness of the night sky. But you carry that larger darkness with you. Carry it in your memory, in your body's cellular knowing, in the deep places where important experiences are stored and treasured and referred back to when times are difficult, when life seems too heavy, when you need to remember what peace feels like. The cat joins you, landing on the bed with a soft thump, finding its familiar place against your side, its warm weight and gentle purr a bridge between the wild night and the domestic present, between the forest and home, between adventure and rest. You stroke its soft fur absently, feeling its contentment, sharing it, adding it to the contentment you've gathered throughout the night. Your breathing deepens, slows, matches the rhythm of the cat's purr, that ancient sound of satisfaction, of peace, of creature comfort. Your eyes grow heavy, the lids falling despite your desire to stay awake a little longer, to hold on to consciousness a little longer, to not quite let go of the night and all it has given you. But sleep is calling now, insistent and patient and inevitable. Sleep with its promise of dreams, of processing, of the deep rest that allows body and mind to heal, to integrate, to prepare for whatever comes next. You feel yourself sinking into it, feel consciousness fragmenting, feel the boundaries of self becoming porous, permeable, dissolving like mist in morning sun. Your last thought before sleep takes you completely is of the moon, still shining outside your window, still moving across the sky on its ancient path, still blessing the earth with its cool light, still watching over all the creatures that move through darkness, all the humans and animals and growing things that share this planet, this moment, this brief, beautiful existence. And then you're asleep, and the night continues without you, and the moon crosses the sky, and the forest breathes its slow breath, and the streams flow, and the earth turns, and everything continues as it always has and always will, the great pattern unfolding, the vast dance proceeding, the endless story telling itself through every leaf and stone and creature and star, through every moment of consciousness and unconsciousness, through every journey and every return, through every going forth, and every coming home. The moonlit walk is over, but in another sense, it will never be over. You carry it with you now, always, and whenever you need it, whenever the world grows too loud or too harsh or too much, you can close your eyes and return to that forest path, can feel the moonlight on your face, can hear the whisper of leaves and the song of moving water, can remember what it feels like to be at peace, to be present, to be fully alive in a world of such impossible, improbable, magnificent beauty. The forest is always there, waiting, The path is always open. The moon will always rise. And you, dear wanderer, are always welcome to return. Rest now. Let the peace of the forest hold you. Let the memory of moonlight soothe you. Let yourself drift into dreams as gentle as the breeze through leaves, as soft as moss on ancient stones, as deep as the quiet that lives at the heart of all growing things. Sweet dreams, traveler, you've earned them. Sleep well, and when you wake, may you carry with you the gifts of this night, the peace, the presence, the connection, the deep knowing that you are part of something vast and beautiful and enduring. The journey continues, but for now, rest. Rest.